Today on Breaking Bitcoin, Binance and China have a plan to save Bitcoin. But will it work, or will the Chinese government silence this attempt faster than a Hong Kong protester? Meanwhile, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse steps to the stage to decry the problems, the regulatory hurdles, the potential security status of XRP. Wait, I'm sorry, I mean Libra. Libra, not XRP. So it's easy to get the two confused. Meanwhile, CZ wants the blockchain to take us to the moon, and we cover the tragedy of Nano and the investors of Nano. The market kicked off to a very bullish start this morning, luring many traders into breakout longs. Are their positions justified, or will they once again find themselves on the wrong side of a trending market? Find out in today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. Welcome to Breaking Bitcoin, guys. Recorded live for you here in the studio. Of course, it is Wednesday, October 9th, 2019, foul year of our Lord. This is your daily source for market updates, sentiment, and news for traders and investors. My name is Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at KrakenCryptocurrency.com. Hopefully, you guys are doing absolutely fantastic wherever you happen to be tuning in from, and whether you're watching us from across YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or of course on Roku with the Investor News Channel app. If you want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in the live chat. And hit the thumbs up button, guys. We highly appreciate that. Of course, today's episode is brought to you by the Premium Trading Group. If you guys are new, experienced, or aspiring traders looking to sharpen your skills, make sure to head over to premium.krakencryptocurrency.com to see all that the group can offer for you. We've got a fantastic show for you guys today. We've got so much to cover. Thank you guys so much for all the well-wishing, the tweets, the DMs, the fruit baskets, the fruit cakes, the carrier pigeons sending in hot honey, tea, brandy even. Thank you guys. I highly appreciate that. I really don't know how else to account for it. Yesterday, me and my daughter were both just struck down. It's just one of those days, 24-hour flu type situation. But some good sleep, melatonin, and a comfortable bed have got me ready to go and firing on all cylinders, guys. So we're going to have a fantastic show. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is the Kraken Cryptocurrency team is headed to the Blockchain Week event in San Francisco, October 28th to November 2nd. There is a link in the description down below to purchase your tickets, and you want to use that link. And why, you might ask? Because using that link will save you 15% off. And as much as we like making money around here, there's nothing more that we like than to save money and to pass the savings on to you. So, also, I want to make this point. We're going to be in the area for the entire week to attend the event. We're going to be conducting interviews with developers, with investors, with projects, with teams, and we would also love to meet the Kraken Cryptocurrency community. So, let us know on Discord if you're going to be attending the event and if you guys would like to attend a Kraken Cryptocurrency meetup, because it would be a lot of fun to do in person what we do on the show. I hope to see you guys there. With that being said, I want to thank today's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security. Make sure to go check them out at spectresecurity.io. With that being said, let's jump into the live scene, give some crypto away, and break down these gosh darn markets, guys. Let's go. All right, here we are in the live scene, guys. And, I'm sorry that we're starting a couple minutes late. I do apologize for that. Sounds like a Geico commercial. It's so easy to save money. I was having some problems with the lighting in here. I was just setting up OBS right before the show, and I looked, and the green screen was not operating as it normally does. And I did reduce the lighting in here and tweak the lighting. But for some reason, whether it's global warming or nuclear crisis or, the Hong Kong protests going on, something has affected the lighting in here. So when we switch over into the main scene, I do apologize if you can see some fuzzies in the left and right hand side corner. I was not able to debug all of them. So hopefully the sterling voice and analysis will keep you guys here. So anyways, we'll load the comments for Monday's video. And 21 potential winners, guys. Thanks so much for all the comments. I highly appreciate that. And of course, Monday's video was pump back up to all-time highs, or is Tether manipulating the market? And I will tell you this, I don't think anybody in a long position rightly cares. Perhaps nor should they, but I do think it is important. So make sure to go check that video out. There was a lot of good coverage on that video, and we talk pretty in depth about the Bitfinex and Tether situation, as we tend to do on this channel. Randomly picking a winner. Hopefully it's not me. Oh, my dear Lord, Brian, you won again. This is getting crazy. He says, can you bail water? You're in. LOL. Gonna go watch that Tether Bitfinex video right now. Fascinating stuff. Thanks, as always, for putting it out there. Respect. Also, where is the CC volatility expander kept? Brian, thank you so much for the continued support, and you are on a hot streak, my man. Gonna be having your own masternode in no time. Thank you so much, man. Get a hold of me in the Discord to claim your crypto. And to answer your question, well, first off, thank you so much for your generous comments. To answer your question, I have not published, and I responded to your comment, I have not published Volatility Expander yet, nor have I published Parallax. I want to do some work on those this month, and my plan is to have those released this month. But again, I tend to do things and put them out when they're absolutely perfectly ready. So thank you so much for your patience, man. Let's hop over into the live scene and break down Bitcoin. Yes, it's absolutely rigged. Big money, big money, big money. Spectre security coin. It's aliens, Justin. Aliens. Yes, of course it is, man. It has to be, naturally. All right, so you guys, hopefully, let me give a shout out to all the guys in the chat, man. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. We've got Henry, Lefty, MT Coiner, Jeffrey, Ferguson, good to see you, my good friend, AGW, Cryptonomics, Saintsy, of course, the one, the only, Spectre Security Coin himself is in the house, all about it. That's good, man. That's good. That's good. Spoon Powered, Midwest Attempts, good to see you, my good friend, Caprica, Mass Stash, the one, the only, the man, the myth, and the legend, Crypto Slice of Life, Nitten, and Wendy. Good to see you guys. Highly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. It is not rigged. I think maybe he's just figured out how to game the YouTube algorithm. I don't know. Oh, we're still over here. Sorry. Let's switch over to the live stream. Okay, now it doesn't look so bad. That's weird. Maybe I just had to reset the camera. Actually looks quite nice now. So before I went live, this actually all looked very hazy and not very attractive. So anyways, moving right along. No whammies. Here we are on the live stream. Let's talk about this a little bit. Now, I'm actually not in a long position. So full disclosure, I am not in a long position. Now, at the end of the daily close, that might change. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. There are a couple of discriminating factors that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But as I didn't do the video yesterday, but as I said Monday, both in the general chat and of course the premium members, I did close my Bitcoin long, or excuse me, I did close my full risk short when I was supposed to. Ended up getting out of that trade right around break even because we put on the short trade right around here, and then we ended up having the indicator flip over here on the 6th. So did exit that trade again pretty much at break even and use that opportunity. These were trades that we put on Monday. Did not go long exposure on Bitcoin, went long exposure on Ethereum and several others as well. So except for my short hedge, which I'm still hedged. So again, on this movement to the upside, this is the importance of understanding hedging, I think. And this is why when people ask me what exchange I think that they should start trading on, I generally do not recommend that people start going to Binance, because if you start off trading on Binance, I think you have the danger of falling down the altcoin rabbit hole. And again, I trade altcoins. There's nothing wrong with trading altcoins. But I think that the first thing that you should do is learn how to trade a liquid asset, right? As opposed to altcoins, which can at times be their own animal, although we do tend to trade them the same, looking for the same types of trading strategies. However, they tend to be in consolidation a lot more, where reversion to the mean strategies are going to be more attractive, and something we haven't covered in depth, but that we will be covering as we progress further and further. But having that being said, Bitcoin is one of the easier to trade. It trends very nicely. It gives very clear, very strong signals. And I think that people should learn to do that. The other reason why I don't like pushing people toward things like Binance to begin with, there's nothing wrong with Binance, is that in my opinion, it is essential that you start off your trading experience by educating yourself first, right? Read first, educate yourself on the space, and then jump into trading. So concepts like shorting and leverage and margin. A lot of those things scare people. I think it's because the reason it's scary for a lot of people is because they jump in and just try to figure it out as they go. And that's not what you should be doing. You should comprehensively educate yourself on how to do things and then enter into the market and start placing your trades after you've educated yourself. And, hedging and shorting is such a key part of the way that I trade, because when you hold Bitcoin, remember that you have nothing but long exposure. Meaning if price goes down, if the BTC USD price goes down, you start losing dollars. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that way, especially when you are on an overall bearish trend. And that's why, again, having short hedges up is how I trade. And I think it's far easier psychologically to simply close a position rather than have to buy in and out of Bitcoin in cash, right? that also leads to further issues down the road. If you're constantly moving in and out of Bitcoin and you do report your taxes, there is that, whereas closing a position is a slightly different thing. So I prefer to have, instead of just selling into cash, I prefer to just open up a short hedge. I'd like my amount of BTC to remain the same. And I feel it's far more active to earn that BTC on the way down than have to buy back into the market, spot BTC, to earn that BTC difference and equivalent. So it's an integral part of my strategy. And that's why I actually, this might be an unpopular opinion, I think that people are better off learning how to trade, first off, not on any exchange. And then I think that people's first exchange should be a highly liquid Bitcoin futures exchange where they can actually have access to good liquidity, only trade a few pairs, and get comfortable with what they're doing. And some of the people that have the most success in trading, I know, tend to focus on those pairs to the exclusion of others. Again, I do trade altcoins, but I would say that there are key points in time when altcoins make me a terrific amount of money. But for the most part, it is trading highly liquid pairs like Bitcoin, Ethereum, EOS, Ripple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically your major MEX pairs and your major ByBit pairs is the majority of where I make most of my profit. So having said that, sorry. It's been a day, guys, and I just enjoy talking to you guys so much. All right. What's a good crypto to buy now? Bitcoin, man. Look at that nice candle. It's a full house. You guys are awesome, man. All right, so obviously, market beginning with a pretty strong open today. We've got a couple of fairly large 1 hour candles. We'll actually go to the 1 hour chart. I'll actually tease you guys with this over here. And I thought this over here, not only do I think it's visually easy for you guys to see, but I put together for you guys an example system over here that we'll talk about. We'll talk about basically an example trading strategy that we can have on the stream. As opposed to the one that we use here primarily. So this is a pretty interesting one, with the exception of this one, which people will have to find their own equivalents for. This is just a slightly modified parameter set that I find works very good for testing and actually performs very well in trading. But anyways, I digress. Let's go look at the live scene and talk about where we're at on the daily, and then obviously we'll zoom down. So this morning, as far as my trades went, I ended up, I'll tell you guys kind of what I saw this morning. I saw Bitcoin on the daily moving towards a fairly critical juncture, right? It's a fairly, and regardless of how you want to slice this, I mean, the overall takeaway is that where Bitcoin is at right now is a fairly critical juncture as far as breakouts go. Anybody trading the lower time frames, like the hourly or anything like that, would have seen, again, price kind of hovering right here, right around this breakout zone that we had marked out pretty much for the last few days. We did, and depending on obviously where you do, how you want to play the right line, wrong line game. But we did mark out this range that we were trading in for quite a while, 84.64, give or take, and 7,900. And we talked about mean reversion strategy. It's worked quite well in this range, as all mean reversion strategies when followed properly. Again, this is an area where bots can help you out. We talked about bots and the pros and cons of automated trading on Monday's show. But again, mean reversion strategy, you have a mean, you have the range, you have the median of the range. Anything that goes above the range, you want to short back down into the range. Anything that goes below the range, you want to long back up into the range. Again, lower time frame automated strategies such as mean reversion like this can, basically are what you're going to want to be doing if Bitcoin's not trending strongly. So we do have some good breakout potential here, but that also puts you into a very dangerous territory. Anytime that Bitcoin is looking to break out of a range or looking to break out of any zone that it's been trading in, that is going to be a very treacherous area to trade on. And again, that's why I think waiting and watching these higher time frames is the better way to go about doing it, because when Bitcoin, you have to understand, Bitcoin makes you the most money when it enters into a strong trend and it moves 30 to 40 to 50%, or just 20%, or even 10%. These are things that absolutely happen. Now, Bitcoin is liquid enough and volatile enough that it can be very attractive to trade on lower time frames. You just have to know, you just have to have a plan. You have to have a strategy, and you have to follow that strategy and that plan. So on the daily, though, we have a couple interesting things that are happening. Now, Minx obviously gave us the crossover back on the 29th of September. That was when we did exit our full risk short position. And, actually quite pleased about that. Now, we did end up opening a short position again on the 3rd of October, 2019. And rode that down. Again, I talked about this on the day it happened, was about $50 away from my first take profit. Price reversed quite explosively off of that candle. Again, this was Monday's show where we talked about, hey, are we pumping back up to the all-time highs, or is Tether just manipulating the market? Because, we are kind of riding into this market, riding off the fumes of the new investigation, not the new investigation, but I would say, new research coming out from token analysts, and obviously the University of Texas study making its way around the internet. But here's the thing, to be honest about that, people have known this for a long time. People already pretty much have their mind made up on whether Tether is legitimate there. And I think, to be just frank with you guys, because I'm not going to do anything but just speak the truth and my honest opinion, I think that most people are of the opinion that Tether is in some way fraudulent. And they've already, by their own admission, their deposits are not 100% backed up. Their deposits are only 74% backed up, which is already a violation of our trust, because they began this business venture. They began the Tether venture with saying that we're going to remain 100% backed up. And then there was no, obviously there was no prospectus that was issued to investors in Tether or people who supported Tether or to the space. And one would say, well, one would potentially argue that they're not required to give us such a prospectus. But again, there's a difference between ethical honest action and unethical dishonest action. So I think most people are of the opinion that Tether is in some way fraudulent and is a ticking time bomb. I actually feel, and again, maybe I'm biased because of the people that I speak to, but I feel that is I feel like that is like the unspoken understanding between most people who trade cryptocurrency. And most people fall into a spectrum of, it is what it is, and it's going to ride this train until it falls off, and it'll probably negatively impact the market when it implodes. Well, positively probably in the short term, because people will try to be diving out of their Tether and back into cryptocurrencies, which will most likely move the price of cryptocurrencies up in the short term. But we can only speculate as to what long-term effects it would have. One would obviously tend to lean toward negative, but again, fundamentals happen typically to satisfy technical requirements on a chart. And I find that there are very few people who are staunch in the corner of like, man, Tether is 100% absolutely awesome. I don't think that the New York Attorney General's investigation was much of a surprise to anybody. And I don't see many people that are like, this is completely unjustified and there's nothing wrong with Tether. For the most part, everybody's like, yeah, man, there's something wrong with Tether, dude. Like, but don't say anything about it because we want them to keep pumping the price. That's a little bit more snarky. I don't really think that people feel that way. I think that a lot of people, I think that on the topic of, is Tether directly manipulating the price of Bitcoin, I think that is a different question that I don't think we have strong evidence on, right? Obviously, we can see that there's good statistical correlation between when Tether prints USDT, the price of Bitcoin does pump almost 70% of the time, according to research by token analyst, University of Texas. But, causation does not equal correlation, right? Or correlation does not equal causation, excuse me. So just because when Tether prints USDT, the price of Bitcoin pumps, does not necessarily mean that Tether is doing anything fraudulent or that Tether is doing that deliberately to manipulate the price of Bitcoin. If you just look at the raw essence, when Tether prints Tether, according to them, the only time that Tether comes into issuance is when individuals deposit USD with them in return for USDT. And what would people be doing with that USDT except for purchasing cryptocurrency? And this is mostly happening not in the United States. Not in the United States. This is generally a lot of foreign buying of Bitcoin. Otherwise, they would just buy it for USD. So a lot of these individuals are in situations where they cannot easily convert from their local fiat into the markets, or they don't want to for legal purposes. So they would buy USDT. So anyways, getting back to the technicals of today, let's just go at our indicators. Obviously, Minx has been crossed up since September 29th, telling us that we should not be in full risk shorts. With the exception of, and again, Minx did not signal the trade on the 29th, but telling us that we should not be in any full risk shorts since the September 29th, according to Minx. So we already are poised in a position where, longs are okay as long as the rest of our system agrees. Now we do have something interesting occurring today, which is Parallax flipping over, and Parallax has been flipped to the downside. As you guys can see here, this is our longer term trend indicator, has been flipped to the downside since the 8th of September. And what's really nice about Parallax is that it's not, Minx is very, very sensitive, right? And I want to make sure that, yep, cool. So Minx is very sensitive, and it's sensitive for a good reason, because Bitcoin is volatile and we want something that will move us in and out of the market frequently. So there are a lot of things that we can do to smooth its settings. Obviously, if you guys can see, I've smoothed it out just a little bit. But Parallax is the same, steady as a rock. And again, it has a very good track record of getting one in and out of good trades. The other thing that we want to be looking at is, of course, Wadatar explosion. Now, there are a few things here that are interesting. We do not have a rising explosion level on Wadatar explosion, and potentially that is going to be your indication of volatility or your volatility filter. So I know a lot of people do use it that way. They simply do not trade. They do not take a trade if the explosion level is not rising, because that indicates when the explosion level is rising, that indicates that the Bollinger Bands are separating or moving further apart than they were on the previous bar close. And that indicates that volatility is picking up into the market. We are moving into a period of price expansion and exiting a period of price contraction. A lot of indicators are based on this logic. There's a very popular indicator called the squeeze momentum, for example, which is based off the Keltner bands, the Keltner channels, contracting inside of the Bollinger Bands and then expanding outside of them. Again, all of these are measurements of volatility. And volatility is absolutely necessary for a trader. Volume and volatility with directional bias equal a trend, or a potential trend at the very least. All right. So we do have everything flipping bullish. Now, depending on the baseline that you're using, or if you are using a baseline, that is a contentious issue. We do have the 30-period Kijun, which is still sitting up at 90.79. So there is going to be a wide swath of individuals that are not going to be taking longs, and that's absolutely fine. There are a swath of individuals that are going to be taking longs based off of this. So we're going to see how the daily candle closes. I'm always hesitant to take the trade breaking out of a range. But again, with Parallax flipping, the R to R is good there. And at the end of the day, you just follow the system and do what you're supposed to do. So pretty good. I wouldn't say, massive breakout volume is fine. I wouldn't say that there's massive breakout volume on this. It's pretty steady as she goes volume. And we don't really see any tumultuous end of the world volume over here, even if we go to the spot exchange. So even if we go over here and look at something like Coinbase, again, we don't really see any out of the way volume on this. But again, Bitcoin trends hard and Bitcoin reverses hard. And this is exactly what I talked about on Monday. My thoughts on Monday were, so let me rephrase this. Overall, I'm still bearish. This is, again, we're breaking out of this, again, meme descending triangle that we were trading in for quite a long time, about 3 months, massive volume to the downside. And the potential that this is going to be just an oversold condition or a massive stop loss hunt would be statistically unlikely at this point in time. It would just be that makes less sense to me than expecting a reactionary movement to the upside after a sell-off like that. So again, as long as we remain in this market structure until we actually, and I talked about this, until we start forming visually higher highs and higher lows on the daily, you have to assume that we're still in a bearish market and that the correct move from a macro perspective is to look at higher prices as opportunities to enter into shorts. And that potentially might be what we're looking at right now, with price just coming right above that trading range and stalling out, right? So this is an area, what's happening right now is that there are a lot of people attempting to short this, right? They are looking at this as a stop loss hunt to the upside. They agree with me that the macro direction is to the downside, and they're going to be utilizing this opportunity to enter into a leveraged short position. Now, again, this is an area of the market also where our volatility expander or our reversion to the mean strategy would agree with this. So I think that if you do have that turned on, you really only have two options. You short this, you short this movement to the upside. You short this movement to the upside, and you're willing to take a losing trade. And you can potentially hedge your bet on this one because on the daily, you are getting a potential trending long signal to the upside. Now, if you're not taking trades below the baseline, then this isn't an issue. You're just simply not going to take this trade, and you're going to be looking for any and all opportunities to have a continuation short because you're not counter trend trading the range if we're below the baseline. And that's absolutely fine. For those of you who are, and I know the reason I mention this is because I just know for a fact that there's a whole bunch of you out there who are doing such a thing. And there's a lot of you watching that don't trade with the exact verbs and nouns that I use for the components of my technical strategy. So that's absolutely fine. What's a good trading platform to use if I'm in Asia? ByBit doesn't allow me to register. Windscribe VPN, what I would recommend. Other than that would be, the other major exchanges would be Deribit and BitMEX. Let's see here. What else was I going to say? So anyways, in summary, and this will be better, actually, we should probably do in summary after we go down to the lower timeframes, but on the daily, a potential breakout signal. This is a signal that if you're looking for, everything on your system to line up, this is a trade where you would have to take. And again, it depends on what your parameters are. You have minks above the noise line, you are below the zero line. So there are things here that jump out at you and say, hey, don't take this trade. But at the end of the day, it comes down to exactly what your parameters are, exactly what you've back tested, and exactly what your plan to do with this is. I think that this is a pretty treacherous area of the market. Anytime that you're looking to break above or below a range, you want to apply less risk. So if you're taking the breakout long on the daily, I would not recommend taking full risk on this. Because when we take trades like this that are below the baseline, for me at least anyways, if I do take them, I cannot use full risk because the overall market direction does not agree with us. So there's absolutely profit potential in this. Bitcoin is one of those assets that kicks up pretty strongly. And as most assets perform, this is an area where you're like, you're never going to be sure if it's a breakout or not until you get whatever confirmation. And you'll never know, obviously, until after the fact, but you do have to just at some point select the parameters that you're going to utilize that trigger you into a long position and then enter into the long position and have a good risk management strategy that helps filter out the impact of losing trades to your overall equity. So if you are going to be taking a breakout long from this, which is not off the table for me, again, I have to look at this at bar close and look at where everything is sitting. I do, unless we have a pretty swift reversal of this, which, looking at how Bitcoin tends to perform is less likely. Bitcoin really likes to hang up in the air after a movement like this, as you guys can see from closing basis. It really does like to hang up in the air until bar close and then do nothing for 5 hours. And then about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, my time, decide to move in the direction that's chosen to move in. Tends to be my experience with Bitcoin. Again, that's why I just like looking at what directional bias is ascertained on bar close and trading in that direction. So less risk if you are going to be taking the breakout long at daily bar close. It would be my recommendation. Going down to lower time frames, going down to the 4 hour. Didn't really have a lot of opportunity to respond to this on the 4 hour. Again, the 4 hour would have been kicking you into a long based off this candle right here. As we can see, we are below. We are technically above a rising explosion level on this bar right here. So one could have caught that actually. But Parallax hadn't flipped over. Minx hadn't flipped over. I just don't see any way that one would have caught this on the 4 hour time frame. On the 4 hour time frame, I think that one would still be firmly staunched in reversion to the mean strategy, in which case this would be a sterling example of that. And we can see just how well it's worked throughout this range. Literally selling any bar close that closes above and taking it back down to the baseline. Worked out very well over here. Worked out very well over here. And also, okay, that was the only blow up to the upside. Any bar closed below, taking it back up. Any bar closed below, taking it back up. Any bar closed below, taking it back up. And so again, if that's the mode, you would still technically be in that mode. And so what would you be doing with this candle? You'd be taking it back down to the baseline around 82.67. And if you want to hedge by taking the long on the daily, that's fine. And keep in mind, let me make sure this is right. Yeah, on the daily, for those still using the 13 EMA and not the 30 period Donchian, you are above the baseline. So this is a situation where those using the 13 period EMA are going to be firing on all cylinders to the upside. Now going down to the hourly today was where the action was, and the hourly and the 2 hour are probably the best, more active timeframes to trade. 4 hours gooder, the 4 hour is good for those who want to take their wider swing trades and are looking to take more signals than the daily. A good daily strategy will optimally have you taking anywhere from, and it depends on your strategy. It depends on the sensitivity of your strategy, but a good high hit rate daily strategy will probably have you taking anywhere from 50 to 70 trades per year, right? And that doesn't sound like a lot, but again, the reality is we're here to make money. We're not here. The quantity of trades you take does not make you a better trader or a more profitable trader. Over trading is one of the biggest problems. So if you're a newer trader, why are you trying to put on a trade a day? If you can make money putting on 30 trades a year, then why are you putting on more? That's the question. If you can beat the market standard of 11% with Bitcoin, by taking 30 trades a year, why are you trying to do more than that? You know, you would only, the risk has to be worth the reward. You would have to be returning an equivalent amount of equity or return on your equity to justify taking such a risk. Because the more you trade, the more you open yourself up to potential loss. The more trades you put on, the more potential loss you expose yourself to. That's where you need to think. You should always think of risk to reward and be biased toward the risk side, right? You should be more afraid of losing money than greedy about making money. And that is how you maintain your equity balance. That is how you avoid steep drawdown. If you can avoid big losses to your account and keep your losses small, then all you need to do is optimize your entries and exits to start making money. You know, I had a fantastic opportunity to meet one of our Kraken Cryptocurrency community members. Great guy, very smart, very sharp, very intelligent. We went out to lunch the other day, and he was telling me the huge change that PTP had made in his life. And the biggest thing that he talked about and mentioned was the early exits and paying attention to early exits. You know, the biggest one of the biggest, I think, you know, beginner mistakes in trading is not knowing when to close a trade. And my answer is it's very simple. You put an indicator on your chart that tells you when to get out of a trade. That's it. And when it tells you to get out, you get out. And you don't care if price pumps. Doesn't matter because you made money. You locked in profit. And that is pretty much how I avoid big losses. The indicator flips over. Doesn't matter if I'm up 3% or if I'm down 2%. I get out of the trade. And that is probably the most practical thing I do to dramatically improve my P&L, to improve my actual return on equity at the end of the month, at the end of the year, is reduce the possibility of having steep drawdown. So a lot of opportunities. Again, everything would have fired on this hourly candle right here. You have Parallax flipped bullish. You have Wadatar explosion with a rising explosion level and printing above the explosion level and the dead zone. You have everything. You have, you know, just everything firing on all cylinders at this point in time, as well as trading above the baseline on that particular candle. So on the hourly, you would have caught this entire breakup movement to the upside. Minx hasn't crossed over yet. This would, in my opinion, and this is actually what I said this morning, I think this is an area where if you're in a long trade, if you caught either this movement or you entered into this consolidation period or DCA down into this this drawdown period, or you entered on the breakout, either way that you would have entered this lower time frame trade, you need to take some profit right here. You need to take some profit and you need to move your stop loss to break even. And it doesn't matter if you entered here. It doesn't matter if you entered here. And it doesn't matter if you entered here. It doesn't matter. The risk of this area does not justify the reward. This is not where you want to jump into a long. This is not where you want to take a long right now looking at this chart. This is, I mean, just look at the momentum and the volatility that's coming in. You need to watch to see if a range establishes from this price action, which again, consolidation after a large bullish movement to the upside generally implies continuation in that direction. And you would look to take the exact same thing. You would wait for your signal to give you a good breakout out of this range. It's that simple. So this is definitely an area of the chart, trading this chart right here, trading this time frame, where you would, and if you're in a long, where you want to take some profit, move your stop loss to break even, and await further instructions from your system. And again, the hourly has been doing very, very well. The hourly has been doing very, very well with reversion to the mean strategy. I think the 4 hour has been doing a little bit better because the 4 hour is just as simple as, you know, bar close below. You can just enter, you know, you go long on the reversal trade, take it back up to the baseline, obviously managing your risk with a stop loss somewhere because you'll most likely have, when, you know, the mean reversion strategy works well until the one time it doesn't, right? And so you have to, you know, people want to get really, really greedy with mean reversion strategy. And here's something that I have to say about mean reversion strategy, because we're going to start once we finish publishing all the trend trading strategy requirements, and we're done with that component of PTP, and we get into reversion to the mean strategy and automation to assist with that, we have to understand one very important thing. Reversion to the mean strategy is not full risk trading. It's not. We are here in the market to ride the trend of some of the strongest trending assets in history, right? Bitcoin trends extremely powerfully with extreme volatility to the upside and the downside. And there is so much money to be made in those pronounced trends. We're not here to be the next market makers, right? Now, some of you are want to make all of your money in a range. That's fine by me. You are, you're over, nothing negative against you guys or anything like that. That is not how I approach the market. And I don't think that you can successfully manually trade that way. Almost all of the manual range traders that I know, and here's the thing. I think this is very true because I noticed this was true in Forex. I noticed this was true I noticed this was true with trading stocks or trading the indices, the SP or all the CME E-minis, which is what I traded was the E-minis. And this is absolutely true. Everybody wants to trade the 5 and the 15-minute chart and trade mean reversion strategy. That's it. Mean reversion strategy and breakouts, which is, but which again is not too different from what I do. But the emphasis is on risk. The emphasis is on risk. If you're trading the range, you need to have significantly smaller position sizes because your fail rate is going to be higher, right? If you are shorting everything that goes above the range and bringing it back down to the median, and if you're longing everything that goes below, that's dangerous. Very dangerous. And if the market enters into a trend, especially on something like Bitcoin that can pump or dump 5, 10, 15% very quickly, and you are exposing yourself to a lot of risk. And on Bitcoin, especially trading on the futures platforms, we got big wicks. So your stop losses are mostly fraudulent. So you have to, this is how I do it anyways. You have to use significantly smaller position sizes when trading reversion of the mean strategies in a range. They're not there to get you rich. They're just there to pull some pennies out of the market. And you're waiting for your strong trend to come in so you can take full risk, enter into the trade, and make a lot of money. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do, man. Agency, what's up, man? Looking shiny today? I had to turn the exposure up on the camera a little bit. Yeah, Ferguson, you got a great point. At this point, if you are not in a trade, I'm going to add a little bit more nuance to that. If you're in a long position, I'll just restate this. So in conclusion, if you are in a long position right now and you enter, it doesn't matter re-entered. If you're in a long right now on Bitcoin, you need to take some profit. You need to move your stop loss to break even. I'm not telling you what to do. That's what I do. I'm not in a long position on Bitcoin. I'm in a short hedge. I'm not losing any money on this trade to the upside. I'm not making any money on this trade to the upside. I have long exposure on other assets, which are, well, up until about an hour ago, we're outperforming Bitcoin. That's fine. But this morning, I tightened up a whole bunch of my stop losses. Atom XBT I was up about 13% on that. I moved my stop loss up, and it did trigger. And I'm happy that it did that because I was happy to lock in that profit. And so, actually, every single trade that I'm in has had profit taken and the stop loss moved up to break even. So right now with my trades, I'm on the precipice of exiting the altcoins that I was in that were outperforming Bitcoin. So those are with the exception of Atom, which is, as far as I'm aware, looking at my indicators this morning, is the only thing that's been forcefully exited out of its position because I did tighten up my stop loss on Atom. And I'm at this precipice of flipping long, potentially, and exiting coins that were outperforming Bitcoin if Bitcoin is now going to perform altcoins. So we're at a precipice. We're at a precipice of a paradigm shift. Mr. Ether just confirmed it. He says, I'm long unless we see 8,000 again. You heard it here, man. You heard it here first. The man, the myth, the legend. Mr. Ether. Make sure to go follow him over there on Twitter. So as always, guys, trade carefully. That would, if I was in a long position, as I said, this is where I'd be taking some profit, moving my stop loss to break even and awaiting further instructions from my indicator. And I think, Ferguson, you said it very succinctly. If you're not in a long, wait for the daily close and see if you can take a trending trade to the upside. And be prepared to be wrong, right? We're here to make money. We're not here to be right. Again. Seeing me gulp down coffee makes you need another cup. Looking to short this area on my lunch break. Hell yeah, dude. Oh man, the good old days, dude. You're at work, you're watching the Bitcoin chart on your phone, or if your job's really cool, like on your computer monitor, and you're like, man, I can't wait until lunch till I can pull up that mobile ByBit, take a short, baby. Oh man. Running into the bathroom to put on a trade on BitMEX real quick. You guys know what I'm talking about. Let's look at the other majors while we're here. And first, let's get an overview of the crypto bubbles market right here. So again, altcoins performing very, very well off at the close of the day. Now, in the last hour, we're having some pretty big drawbacks in most of the major alts. But again, still up pretty well for the majority of the day. We haven't seen a massive reactionary pullback from our altcoins so far. And again, the last couple of days, altcoins, really the last week or so, altcoins are performing very well. And that's why I took more established positions in altcoins. He says, don't tell the state of Michigan. What's going on, Midas Touch? Good to see you, man. I'm not sure if I should close my XRP XBT. Then you should take some profit and move your stop loss to break even, my good friend. And we will look at that here in a little bit. Look, even like you can tell it's an alt market because look, even Pundi X up 4%. Siacoin is being launched on Kraken, so up about 13%, doing quite well. Digibyte, don't really care for Digibyte too much. Ren, ye old Ren. And a lot of people, I saw a lot of stuff on my Twitter feed this morning about Hydro Protocol. So, you know, you have to be very, very careful at like who's shilling what altcoin. That's why, you know, never get your investment advice from crypto Twitter. But it is always interesting to see those, you know, crypto Twitter reactions. You have to go back and kind of look at timestamps sometimes and be like, all right, so was this pumping when you said it was going to 100% and you're trying to get people to buy your bags, you know, so you can sell at a higher price? Or did you say something and then the market pumped? Yeah, that's always one of those things, right? Oh, I did want to give you guys this, which is, this is actually, so this is something that I am testing. This is a strategy that a member of the group submitted to me. He said it was okay for me to talk about it on the stream, so that's fine. And so this is going to make more sense to the guys in the group, and this is just an example of the good things that can come from putting in the work, right? You know, I am very pleased to say that so many of the guys in the premium group are doing what they're supposed to, and that is focusing on the education, focusing on learning, focusing on working, you know, with me or working with another analyst or working, you know, amongst themselves as peers, you know, crunching through the material, doing the back testing, doing the grinding, and building their systems out, which is exactly what I want to see and makes me happier. Rather than, you know, when moon or, you know, what's the next signal that we're putting out. And that's fine. I mean, the signals are there to you know, how do I put this in a right way? The signals are there to give you access to see the way that I'm trading, to give you more conviction in your trading, and also to help you remain profitable while you are taking kind of time off to develop your strategy, right? But anyways, this is somebody who's been putting in the work. This is their system. Minx being their initiator, CCI being their confirmer, which I think is a good choice. They're using Minx as a line cross and not as a centered oscillator. They're using CCI as a centered oscillator, which I think is a very good thing they're using. So you have two levels of sensitivity there. So you've got very sensitive with responsive, but not overly sensitive, which I think is great. Very, very good, very, very good selection there. And I think inspired a little bit by what we talked about. Now, what's interesting is that they are using ADX, which I'm not a huge fan of, but this is what they've chosen to go with, and that's absolutely fine as their volatility filter. But interestingly enough, they've put a caveat in here of if the explosion level is rising, as you can see, that this is Wadatar explosion, the third to the bottom. And they have the dead zone. I have the dead zone plotted, but the dead zone's actually not part of it. And although ADX is their volatility filter, with their threshold being anything over 20 is okay to trade, when you have when the explosion level is rising, they default to that. If the explosion level is rising, they're allowed to trade, which I think is pretty neat. It's like they've added in a like a second volatility filter, which is pretty neat. It's a pretty neat idea. I like it. And they're not using a baseline. So it's pretty neat. This is about currently testing at about 78% hit rate. And good profitability, good net profit and good profit factor when you factor in position sizing. Again, that's all going to depend on, you guys have to average that out for risk per trade, and your guys' numbers are going to be different when it comes to values like net profit. That's why when we get to that, that's personal. You're going to have to code in your money management strategy into that, which is honestly the trick of backtesting, right? It's not too difficult. It is kind of difficult, honestly. That's why we have a whole course on it, to write your strategy in Pine. But putting in the money management, that's the secret of the sauce that we do here. Moving right along. Let's go over and analyze the majors. Ethereum USD. We will look at it on, let's look at it on Bitfinex, it's just fine. Ethereum is still outperforming Bitcoin. That's why I've been very bullish on FBTC. Because that's the most liquid pair, and Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, has been outperforming Bitcoin for pretty much like a week or so. Yesterday, we did get if we look at FUSD yesterday, again, did get a long signal, ended up taking, let's do something here real quick. Let's switch these back to defaults for you guys. Cool, there we go. Did end up getting a long signal on the 6th of October, 2019. Ended up taking, so we didn't take FUSD long. I took FBTC long because the signal was stronger. And there wasn't a clear signal here. You can see that Wadatar explosion is not signaling a long trade. And interestingly enough, it was not signaling a long trade yesterday either. It is today. So Parallax flipped bullish yesterday. We are above the 13 EMA. Let's check in with our Kijinsen. We are above the 30 period Kijinsen. And Minx is positive, not only crossed over the noise line, but also above the zero line. So as a centered oscillator and as a line cross, it is as a two lines cross. It is positively bullish right now. So again, treacherous area of the market, but breakout trades across the board, pretty much. Breakout trades across the board. So, Dark Rico, I just wanted to correct you on something because my first TP for FZ19 was 2306, and we did reach a high today of 2317. So my TP1 did fill. Now, what is interesting to note about dynamics between the majors and Bitcoin is that, you want to be hesitant, like scrambling to switch all your positions around. But Bitcoin's performance in history is very similar, or, tends to go along this route, which is altcoins go through a period of outperforming Bitcoin, with Ethereum leading the charge, usually most of the time, Ethereum leading the charge. And then when Bitcoin catches up, that performance goes away. That overperformance goes away. And we're seeing that. We're already seeing that. We're seeing profit being taken on our Bitcoin pairs right now, or on our alt BTC pairs. They have not flipped to being back into a bearish trend. So you're speculatively trying to call the top of the market, which you don't want to do, which is why what I do, again, which I think is the best thing to do, rather than predict that this is the top, because you don't want to call tops, that's a fool's job, take profit, move your stop loss to break even. That's exactly what I did with the two trades that had not hit their first take profit this morning. I took some profit on them. I moved my stop loss up to break even a little preemptively. I adjusted my first T1, and that was it. I don't have to do anything. I've already made money on all my trades. So worst thing that can happen right now is I just make less money than I wanted to, which is totally fine. Still made money. That's what I'm here to do. Never going to catch all the tops and all the bottoms. The only thing that you can do is in the most safest way, proceed in the correct manner. Do I think that Ethereum will reach the same limits it hit back in late September? As far as ETHBTC or ETHUSD? I think that from a fundamental perspective, you have a couple decisions to make. And this is where I'm going to deign to just giving you some very generic cookie cutter advice, right? Because it's going to be a personal decision. You either look at this chart, and it's not really the chart. It's not really the chart you want to look at. Maybe this chart is better. Let's pull up ETHBTC on Finex, right? So you either look at this chart and you think of Ethereum and you say to yourself, okay, Ethereum is really oversold. It's really, really cheap right now. And there is strong fundamental value behind Ethereum, and it has good token economics, and there is good reason to hold the token. And I'm convinced as an investor, it's going to move to a higher price. I feel that way about Litecoin, right? So I started dollar cost averaging in the Litecoin just recently. That's my personal decision. It's not a PTP trade. It's an investment, right? And I feel the same way about Ethereum. I think that the risk to reward is there. But you have to make that decision for yourself. Because as far as trades go, as far as trading goes, it's a technical strategy. As far as discretionarily moving into positions of your portfolio or allocating portions of your long-term portfolio to it, it's a personal decision, man. You have to buy what you believe in. Buy what you believe in, buy what you think is quality, and intend to hold it forever. You should have conviction, because you might have to hold something, like, for example, with stocks. I have held stocks. I've been investing in stocks for 10 years now. I have held stocks through wild swings, up and down. I don't trade stocks. I buy stocks. Now, that might be changing with Charles Schwab removing trading fees. Keep you guys updated on that. But, you have to have conviction in what you plan to hold for a long time. Anything that does not fall into a well-defined trading structure, which is anything under the sun, but that means when I trade things, I don't care about them. When I trade Bitcoin, I don't care about Bitcoin. I don't think about its fundamentals. I don't think about its use case. I don't think about non-censorable. I don't think about investment. None of that. I just look at it in the realm of, this is a volatile asset that changes price quickly, and I can take advantage of that as a trader. As an investor in Bitcoin, I've held Bitcoin for a while, up and down and up and down and up and down. And I have the conviction to do that. And to be a good investor, you need that same conviction to really hold, through the long term, to the swings, to the up and the down. You just got to hodl, man, and believe in that. And that's not going to be for everybody. I had a stop loss not trigger on Binance on the KMD BTC trade. Any idea why? Low liquidity? That is a possibility, but your stop loss still should have triggered. I would bet that you set a stop limit order, potentially, instead of a stop market order. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Stop limit, and for some reason, I just wanted to respond to this. So I was talking about ByBit the other day, and somebody said in the chat that, well, you can't do stop limits on ByBit. So first of all, yes, you can. You can do, it's called conditional. You go to conditional on your order type, and you hit limit. You can absolutely set a conditional stop limit order in ByBit. But the second thing is, why would you want to? The conditional limit orders are for breakout trades or for breakdown shorts. They're not for stop losses. Market orders are for stop losses. And I've gone over this like so many times. I've talked about this so many times. And this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm right. But I do not see any utility into setting a stop limit order. Because people are like, well, it avoids gapping. No, it doesn't. It does not avoid gapping. It does not avoid slippage. You're just not going to get filled, and then you're going to have steep drawdown and maybe get liquidated. Set a stop market order. That gets you out of the trade. If the slippage on any one individual trade Like, for example, people are like, oh man, these massive Bitcoin wicks and BitMEX scam wicks and blah, blah, blah. I'm absolutely with you on there. That's why I trade on ByBit. But if one trade is doing that to you over and over and over again, because I just hear that constantly from people who trade on BitMEX, like, man, these scam wicks, man, like I had an order here and I got filled here. Well, that sucks, man. But like, if that is like blowing out your account or so happening so often that you have to complain about it, you're trading wrong. It has nothing to do with the liquidity. It has nothing to do with the slippage. It means you need to change what you're doing. But for you, Rico, I mean, you're just throwing around such a heavy bag, man. You got to calm down, bro. You're using too big of a position size. Not that you can't afford it. I'm just saying, whoa, man, big spender over there. So when would I cash in an investment? Well, I mean, listen, I've sold investments before. Something needs to fundamentally change to make me believe that my investment thesis is now wrong. So this has happened in the past with stock companies and mergers. There have been times where I've had to part with holding a stock because I didn't agree with the direction the company was going. As long as the fundamentals are there, I won't sell. I am building a portfolio for wealth, for dividends, to pay me passive income. And I plan to pass that portfolio down to my family, to my daughter. That's my entire goal with my investment. That's why I'm accumulating Bitcoin. I'm not accumulating Bitcoin to sell them in my lifetime at some point in time. I'm accumulating Bitcoin to be able to pass generational wealth on to my daughter. That's it, man. That's the goal in life, man. I've done well enough in life. I can, if I need something, I can go out and buy it. I've worked hard and I've put in the time, I've put in the effort, I've put in the work, and I have a good trading strategy. I'm a consistently profitable trader. I do well. I live comfortably, and I get to do what I love for a living. And now that I'm here at this point, I can invest my time and energy into helping other people, which is what I enjoy doing, because that means that I'm doing what I love, and that gives me the conviction to wake up every single morning bright and early and hop to it. Because if you're not doing what you love, then, you get out of bed 2 hours late and you don't want to go to work and you hate what you do. It's because you're not doing what you love, man. I get to do what I love. And, with things like cryptocurrency, that pathway is absolutely open to a lot of people that it's just not open for, in a lot of other aspects, Bitcoin is one of those rare assets where you can come in right now with $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 as a retail trader and do a lot of damage and change your life. And that's not like I'm not selling anybody on a get rich quick scheme. I don't want you guys to get that intention. This is to be a consistently profitable trader is a lot of work, but it's absolutely possible if you put in the work. Thank you, agency. Highly appreciate that, my friend. Thank you, access denied. Appreciate that, man. All right, guys, it is 1:01, so we're going to take a brief break. Before we go to break, word from our sponsor. As a consistently profitable trader, I often get asked what exchange I utilize or what metrics I use to evaluate a potential exchange. Now, I do trade on ByBit, BitMEX. I do not actually have funds on Deribit at the current moment, but I have nothing wrong with their platform. I just don't trade options, so there's really no reason for me to be over there. I prefer to just do my trading on ByBit. And I like to trade my MEX alts over on BitMEX, of course, until we get the BTC exposure over on ByBit, which will come one day. But I digress. I also do trade on Binance, Kraken, and Coinbase. Coinbase is generally more in the rare occurrences that I do have to do fiat to cryptocurrency conversions. But anyways, I digress. But the three metrics that I always evaluate are security, ease of use, and customer service. I've gone over this before. With security, I think that your best bet is to keep the majority of your funds in cold storage and utilize an exchange that gives you access to margin so that you can deposit less of your funds. With 3x leverage, you can deposit 1/3 of your Bitcoin onto an exchange and take proper position sizes. Not using leverage to justify taking ridiculous position sizes that you're not supposed to be taking in the first place. Using leverage the way that it's intended to reduce counterparty risk, i.e. 2/3 of your Bitcoin is on your Ledger Nano X or your Ledger Nano S. You got the old model. No, I'm just kidding. Ledger's cool, man. Ledger's fine. Or Keep Key or, Trezor or whatever you guys are doing, man. We're up the old school Trezor up in here. But margin allows you to be safer with your cryptocurrency in a way that no counterparty assurances can give you. Doesn't matter the security features of Binance or Bittrex or Coinbase. It doesn't matter what security features they implement. Not your keys, not your coin. And keeping your money in cold storage is the only way to ensure that. And you can do that with leverage. So ease of use. ByBit's easy to use. I recommend it to newer traders. I recommend it to experienced traders. And customer service. That's why I moved over. I absolutely hate BitMEX. They have no customer service. I think they do unethical things, but it's just a trading platform at the end of the day. It's not like they're out to get you. They're just there to make money, just like we are. And I find that it's easier to make money over on ByBit. So if you guys would like to use ByBit, there's a link down in the description, bybit.krakencryptocurrency.com. Using that link does not give you an additional deposit bonus anymore. ByBit was offering a deposit bonus for using that link in September on top of what they already give you for a deposit bonus. So right now it just does support the channel, but trying to negotiate with them to put something in. And we do fun stuff, man. For some reason, the way that ByBit has it set up, we do trading competitions. I think we're going to have one coming up here pretty soon. And for whatever reason, however their system is structured, to participate in them, like the ones that are just for CC or for whatever, you do have to use the link. So it is what it is, guys. Thank you guys so much for the support. We'll be back in just a minute. Let me know if you guys have any questions or things you'd like to cover or coins that you're interested in looking at, and we'll try to cover those right after the break. We're going to take about a 3 to 4 minute break. Be back in a moment, guys. Don't go anywhere. Well, howdy, folks. Thank you guys so much for holding through the break. And we are back, and we will waste no time, spare no expense, because we've got so much to talk about. Now, I do want to just real quickly, we ran through the alt market analysis pretty much quicker than normal. And I do want to get into the news because there is some really interesting stuff that I do want to talk about today and give my take on the events, as I like to do. But I just want to hit the notes here that I do have for the charts so I can convey that to you guys. So for Ethereum, and we're here on Ethereum, it has been outperforming Bitcoin. So on FBTC, we are seeing a reactionary, long wick down, and this is on the daily. So Ethereum BTC, put in big gains today and has just given them all back. You have to wait till the candle close. There's no reversal signal as we sit. If we go over to FUSD on Finex, whoa, what the heck was that? We have not seen that reaction come in yet. We haven't seen the reversal come in yet. By the way, let me guys know subjectively, because I get this a lot, and I just want to know, for especially the people who watch us a lot, is this chart, like, is this visually hard for you guys to see? The gray background with the white and black candles. Is this easier to see? The black background with the green and red candles? Let me know. And if so, if I can get a very convincing answer about that, I will potentially change. And it's hard to please everybody, but I'll do my best, right? This is how I trade. This is very calming to me. Again, I preferred my light blue background, which actually is supposed to help people with difficulty seeing even better. But I got complaints on that, like, it's too loud, man. Your colors are too loud. And I try to make you guys happy. Try to do the best, because if you guys can't see the charts and you guys can't see what I'm talking about, you're basically listening to a podcast. Which, by the way, you can listen to the podcast over at breakingbitcoin.money. 5-star reviews on iTunes are highly appreciated. Moving right along. Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin. Still, so again, barring a significant market reversal, barring the fact that Bitcoin just absolutely fails at this point in time, which is not happening yet, then I still think that Ethereum is set to be okay. It's likely to lose its pace as outperforming Bitcoin, especially if Bitcoin. That sounds silly to say. If Bitcoin outperforms Ethereum, then Ethereum won't outperform Bitcoin. But Ethereum has been outperforming Bitcoin, so I wouldn't be jumping out of your positions just yet. But I would be, especially on the dollar pairs, if you do happen to be long on Ethereum USD for whatever reason. Now, obviously, you want to kind of look at Ethereum Bitcoin to be leading the charge on that, because if Ethereum Bitcoin does end up turning over today on the daily or on whatever time frame that you're trading, you do want to go ahead and exit that position. But as far as Litecoin goes, LTC BTC over here, and we'll look at it on Finex. I'm still long on Litecoin. This is not a PTP trade. This is a fundamental long. This is a long hold. I like Litecoin. I don't believe in Litecoin like I believe in Bitcoin, but I think the fundamentals are there for Litecoin to move up and appreciate in price. I think you cannot get away. I don't necessarily agree with this. This is not my narrative. This is not my opinion. This is not my investment thesis, but I don't think you can get away from people, a popular mentality being the silver to Bitcoin's gold, right? And I could be completely wrong about this, and I'm willing to eat these words, I guess, if I am wrong, but take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, do your own on that. Now, as far as EOS and XRP rounding out the rest of our major ByBit pairs, they are at reversal points. And that's pretty much the only note that I had written. If we go to EOS USD, and this was before this, these are my notes that I took at 9 o'clock this morning when I was doing my morning analysis of the market. So as we can see, we are at reversal points on not only EOS USD, but also XRP USD. So again, while Bitcoin's been boring, the alt markets have been playing. While the cat's away, the mice will play, as they say. But we do see that potentially coming to an end. And as far as the alt market analysis, so alt BTC pairs, so our major Binance pairs, I said pullbacks likely because Bitcoin looks like it might be outperforming. Now, so it doesn't really matter at this point in time. Like, Bitcoin's kind of pushed us into a situation with our alt trades where, you kind of have to step away. I think that the smartest position right now, and again, I didn't exit because I don't panic move. I just moved my stop losses up and took some profit on trades that hadn't hit T1 yet, which was a preemptive move. So again, it's possible that I won't make as much money on these alt trades. And it gives me the option to either be right or wrong. Again, it doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong. It matters if I make money. So if I'm wrong and alts just continue to move right along and they don't have this big reactionary movement to Bitcoin, well, cool. Then I'm just going to stay in the positions. But if they do end up pulling down and having a pretty big pullback, which they tend to do, they tend to put in the pullbacks that altcoins tend to put in when Bitcoin actually makes a move, are the pullbacks that basically erase all your gains. That's why I think it's smarter to be a little bit more conservative or a little bit more eager to snatch your profits on altcoins most of the time. Which means they should probably be all the time if it's most of the time. So Bitcoin is in this situation right now where it's either going to shoot up like a rocket. Just being honest with you guys, Bitcoin's going to do one of two things. It's either going to shoot up like a rocket and alts are going to dump, or because Bitcoin pushed us now into this area of high liquidity, it's going to reverse like a rocket and shoot to the downside, in which case altcoins are going to dump. So probably the best bet, the best move is to be exiting altcoins. Again, wait for the daily candle close, wait for whatever time frame you're trading. But I just don't think there's any way to get around that. Bitcoin has pushed us into a position on our altcoin trades where it's like, oh, okay, fuck, we got to get out of the alt market for a couple days. Moving right along. I do want to get into the major news of the day. And we're going to start off with, here we go. Let me see what you guys said about the colors. You're not worried about the situation in Hong Kong and that China says this or that and the funds are locked on ByBit. So ByBit is not based in Hong Kong or China. It's based in Singapore. So no, not worried at all. And the other thing is this, man, like it doesn't, like, you're going to have that same government exposure or other similar risk on any exchange. You can't get away from that. Again, that's why I default back to my original argument, which is margin, you know? Would it suck if my ByBit deposit was lost to me? Yeah, that would absolutely suck. But I knew that risk going in trading cryptocurrency. There's no way around that. And I've protected myself from something that would devastate me rather than something that's just, oh, this sucks, you know, basically gave back a year of gains by utilizing leverage. Black, gray's fine, I use gray, black and green, black please. Gray is harder to see. All white, earthing. Good for the brain apparently. Both okay, prefer gray. Maybe navy is good. I like the dark, but that's just similar to mine. Either way looks great. Gray, black, and white. Sorry, the chat just jumped. Gray, black, and white is fine. Tell him to tell him to shut it. Thank you, Mr. Etherman. Gray is less visible, but 12% of all men are colorblind and suffer from erectile dysfunction, from what I understand. But hey, black looks better, dark background. Okay, well, it seems like Ken. Oh man, I would have felt very disappointed if I got through the day without seeing you. What's going on, brother? Or how about you choose, bro? All right, well, let's get into the news of the day. We're going to cover so much, guys. We're going to cover China's move into Bitcoin. It's not really what it is, but we'll cover it, and we'll talk about this in a second. We're going to be talking about CZ sending us to the moon, literally, like literally to the moon. That's up there, like not the Bitcoin, please go to moon. And we're also going to be talking about, sorry, just a second here. We're going to be talking about XRP, and we're going to be talking about Nano. And yes, Nano as in Ryblox, not as in Nano Ledger X. Your funds are still safe. Don't worry. Funds are Safu. Maybe not on Binance. Moving right along. So we'll start off with the big story of the day. So heading over into the newsroom. All right, here we are. So big news of the day. I think this is, I really want you guys' opinion on this because I just don't know how it's going to work, man. I just don't know how it's going to work. But Binance did announce yesterday the Chinese launch of its P2P trading service with the tagline, anything that makes it easier to get crypto. So this is going to be essentially an OTC desk, not in name, where one can do PTP purchasing, or excuse me, P2P, I said PTP, P2P purchasing of Bitcoin, and Binance is going to be facilitating this. So CZ followed up with this announcement via Twitter with potentially even bigger news, and this is the addition of fiat on-ramps to this P2P purchasing system, this cryptocurrency PTP P2P, excuse me, on-ramps via WeChat and Alipay. So for those of you who don't know anything about world economics, WeChat and Alipay is basically how you spend money over in China, right? They've moved to largely everything digital over there. And, you know, interestingly enough, perhaps conveniently enough, or perhaps, you know, Soylent Green, you know, communist dictatorship, terrifyingly enough, you know, everything is tracked on there. In fact, you know, we were just, Scott was just sharing a story with me the other day about, somebody, if you jaywalk in China, they don't just send you a ticket and wait and hope that you pay. No, your Alipay account, your WeChat just gets automatically debited. So everything is there with the WeChat system. Your money, your driver's license, your identity as a citizen, your words fail me right now. Everything is just integrated into this digital system. And this is huge because obviously China, one of the largest economies in the world. And so this gets complicated when we talk about the state of cryptocurrency legislation in China. So let's dispel some bullshit real quick. First off, cryptocurrency is not illegal in China. Cryptocurrency exchanges are illegal in China, and trading is illegal in China. That's what's illegal. ICO participation is also illegal in China. What is not illegal in China, what is actually protected by law in China, is the ability to purchase cryptocurrency, P2P or OTC. All right, that is ensconced in law. One would argue, well, ensconced in law in a communist nation. What does that mean? But it is there, and it has been protected. So you can legally have Bitcoin, be a cryptocurrency investor in China, in mainland China. You just cannot participate in trading or participate with an exchange. All right, they don't want that going down. Not on their watch. No, sir, not today. But you can hold Bitcoin. So OTC purchasing and P2P, so like local Bitcoins, that is legal. Now, we do know anecdotally that there have been lots of instances of payment processors not allowing individuals to participate in these. So it's not a perfect system. So very similar to but this is no different to how Wells Fargo was or how Capital One was with cryptocurrency, where it was completely legal to buy cryptocurrency back in the day. We're talking about 2013, 2014, totally legal to buy Bitcoin because you got to Silk Road it up somehow. But it was, you had individual banks and payment processors, Capital One, not allowing you to utilize their platform to purchase cryptocurrency. They were firm no, right? So this is no different. It's not like the Chinese government is coming out and saying that this is how it is. It's just that individual banks are making decisions on their own to do this, individual services. Now, by supporting the most ubiquitous payment method in the country, in China, Binance will more than deliver on that, anything that makes it easier to get crypto tagline. So this is a new peer-to-peer trading platform. It's very similar to how local Bitcoins functions. It will open up millions of Chinese to the opportunity of buying Bitcoin using a payment app, WeChat, with over 1 billion, Billy with a B, active monthly users, right? I mean, America, eat your heart out is the tagline I was looking for there. Now, people familiar with the matter say that the new Binance P2P platform is currently in a testing phase for Android users and will eventually be fully rolled out on iOS and the web. Now, again, just to reiterate this, cryptocurrency exchanges are officially banned in China by the country's central bank. That has been ensconced since late 2017. But again, Chinese citizens can still and have been able to buy Bitcoin via other peer-to-peer platforms or through over-the-counter trading desks. For instance, Huobi and OKX were the main exchanges that facilitated Chinese yuan, CNY, to BTC USDT conversions, and they disguised those operations behind a P2P OTC desk. Now, so with today's announcement, Binance is officially entering into the Chinese P2P trading space. Chinese users will have access to buy not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum and the stablecoin Tether on this new Binance P2P platform. Guess what coin's going to be added next? BNB, most likely it's going to happen. Interestingly enough, though, WeChat did update its payment policy back in May, saying that it will terminate accounts of those users who engage in cryptocurrency trading, right? And again, we have to realize this has kind of happened before because Binance is basically launching what Huobi and OKX have already done. But they'll probably be more successful with it. And because China isn't dumb, or Chinese banks are not dumb, they figured out, okay, well, you guys are trading. You guys are just cloaking this, again, by their own admission, cloaking this in an OTC. You're basically allowing trading, but just facilitating this through the cloak of a P2P exchange. And I don't know, I don't believe that Binance is really doing anything differently here. We're going to have to see how this kind of plays out in theory and what restrictions they have and how Chinese banks kind of accommodate to this and how WeChat in particular accommodates to this. Because again, according to the policy that they updated in May, they will terminate the WeChat accounts of users who participate in cryptocurrency trading. It doesn't say purchasing cryptocurrency or investing in cryptocurrency, but it does specifically say cryptocurrency trading. So how are they going to interpret this new push into the space from Binance? Alipay also has reportedly blocked accounts involved in Bitcoin OTC trading as well. However, with the peer-to-peer nature of this Binance platform, these sort of restrictions can likely be sidestepped and provide a new gateway into the crypto space. Again, we're just going to kind of have to see how this plays out. But now a spokesman for Binance did clarify that, quote, technically, Binance as a P2P platform itself is not integrated with WeChat or Alipay payment. But the vendors or users on the platform can accept WeChat or Alipay transactions for crypto trading. Binance only provides the on-ramp for OTC trading by building an intermediary platform on which both the merchants and the users trade freely. Meanwhile, Alipay seems to not entirely be on the same page with Binance regarding this move, saying, quote, Alipay closely monitors the over-the-counter transactions to identify irregular behavior and ensure compliance with relevant regulations. If any transactions are identified as being related to Bitcoin or other virtual currencies, we immediately stop the relevant payment services, said an Alipay spokesperson. So again, this is going to be kind of contentious, and we're going to see how well users can mask this. But if we do know one thing, there is a lot of dissent in mainland China, as there is in Hong Kong, and that's becoming an issue over there. And what we have seen is that despite the government's earnest attempts, and this is what gives me so much faith in Bitcoin. You know, you hear this kind of nonsense, I think nonsense a lot, that, and I agree. Well, listen, I agree that I don't think the government is as concerned with cryptocurrency as they should be, because they think that they can co-opt it, take what they want, leave what they don't, which is the tech, and leave the decentralization. Or they think that they can poison it from the inside, which is, I think, is what you guys have seen with the altcoin market, right? Tinfoil hat theory. There are other non-tinfoil reasons for it as well, which are more primary. But again, I do think that the tinfoil hat theories play a part. Absolutely. I don't think those are impossible to ignore. But China, like communist China, has not been able to shut Bitcoin trading down. And this is just to show you, once you put a technology out into the wild, it grows. So everybody that says if America ever, you know, there are so many of these talking heads that want to walk around, that say things like, well, if America bans Bitcoin, that's it for Bitcoin. Okay. China has basically banned Bitcoin in all but name and done everything they can do to restrict trading. And people are still trading Bitcoin in mainland China. They're using apps, they're using VPNs, they're using decentralized networks. The genie is out of the bottle, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter if America bans Bitcoin. Sure, it might be bad for the price in the short term, but you cannot put the genie back in the bottle, man. Can't put the genie back in the bottle. So I think, for real, it's like people are just completely oblivious to reality. People that are like, Bitcoin's fragile, and if the government bans it, it'll go down. Look at China. Like, China is a shining example of exactly what Bitcoin will do if banned by a government. It still works. Now, Binance has been expanding its fiat to crypto gateways with recent launches in the United States, with Binance US, into Singapore, Uganda, among others. The exchange has also been planning to launch more such fiat to crypto exchanges in Argentina, Bermuda, and Turkey, among other nations as well. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is huge? I think this is big news. WeChat and Alipay's significance or amount of users cannot be understated. Cannot be understated whatsoever. Do you guys think that there's going to be a virulent or violent reaction from WeChat and Alipay? Are they going to crack down? Are they just saying they're going to crack down and they're like totally cool with it? But we have to kind of take into account the economic situation over there in China, which is a lot of capital flight occurring. There's a lot of instability over there economically, not only in Hong Kong, but also in mainland China, with fears of the devaluation of the yuan, with fears of the devaluation of the Hong Kong dollar, losing the peg to the United States dollar, the trade war, everything that's going on over there, political instability. You're seeing a lot of capital flight out of Hong Kong and China. Harder to do capital flight from China, but it is still happening. And where can that money go? With negative interest rates across the world becoming the standard, and potentially our executive branch over here in America calling for the exact same thing, which basically means that holding bonds becomes valueless, and you lose all yield, and people will be pushed into riskier and riskier and riskier investments, stocks, just to maintain yield, just to not lose money to inflation. You guys tell me. Big stuff coming, man. Good stuff for Bitcoin. Let's lighten up a little bit, guys. Let's go talk about Mr. Brad Garlinghouse. Look at that beard, man. Such a handsome fellow. Ripple CEO says no Libra before 2023 while continuing the XRP controversy. So coming from the Bitcoiner. So in an interview with Fortune on October 7th, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, almost always say Brad Garlinghouse, joined the chorus of voices predicting the failure of the Libra project. When asked if he was bullish about Facebook's ability to launch Libra on schedule, Garlinghouse answered bluntly with a, nah, bruh, that shit sucks. According to him, the biggest hurdle facing Libra are regulatory concerns. Quote, do I think they have the technical competency to do that? Sure. I think the regulatory headwinds they're facing, though, are substantial. Now, Facebook on its part has pledged to address wide-ranging concerns from governments and regulators alike and remains committed to their 2020 launch date. For Garlinghouse, however, it remains to be seen if Libra will come to market next year, if ever. When asked about what sort of time frame Brad actually envisions for Libra's launch, he cheekily suggested taking bets on the blockchain prediction service Augur, saying, quote, if I were a betting man, I would take an Augur bet. I think there's a time-based element on Augur as well, so I'll say the end of 2022. I think Libra will not have launched by the end of 2022. Now, Libra project management themselves are much more confident in their project. Releasing a roadmap last week, developers said progress was already happening on Libra's transition from testnet to mainnet. And the updated roadmap arrived just before PayPal, yes, PayPal, one of the network's prospective $10 million node operators, said it was pulling out due to its own worries about regulatory uncertainty, saying, quote, PayPal has made the decision to forego further participation in the Libra Association at this time, the company said following rumors of various high-profile partners all considering pulling back from their commitments from the project. Quote, we remain supportive of Libra's aspirations and look forward to continued dialogue on ways to work together in the future, end quote, PayPal's statement read. Now, Garlinghouse, on the other hand, would go on in this interview with Fortune to touch on other contentious issues. Let's get into the fun stuff. Among these were Ripple's relationship with the XRP cryptocurrency, which has long been the subject of criticism, especially on this channel. Various company representatives have been giving conflicting accounts of just how much control Ripple actually has over the XRP token. 2019 has seen, without a doubt, Ripple members and staff members and developers emptying their bags onto the market at a rate greater than any other period since XRP's creation. At the same time, Ripple investors, particularly in the retail space, have called for increased accountability out of Garlinghouse's firm, including one lawsuit alleging XRP was being sold off as an unregistered security. Now, Garlinghouse did deflect all of this with his response, quote, certainly we are an interested party in the success of the XRP ledger. For sure, we own a lot of XRP. And that's all he said. So yeah. He's like, yeah, I don't care about XRP. We got a lot of XRP. And concerning the securities question, he replied, quote, but it's a little bit like saying Exxon owns a lot of oil. That doesn't make oil a security, end quote. To which I'm just going to call bullshit on that. That's not a good analogy whatsoever, sir. And shame on the Fortune interviewer for letting you slip away like that. But let me know what you guys think about this. Do you guys agree with Brad's idea on Libra here? Now, again, without being unfair to XRP, and not to XRP, Ripple, it's a different thing. Without being unfair to Ripple, which they're doing a lot of stuff, man. Everybody's just trying to be the bigger, better thing in the space. I do think that this is a little bit pot calling the kettle black. I don't really like this idea of like hopping on the, it's like it's really popular to like be poo-pooing Libra right now. And I think it would mean more if you were kind of going against that. Because he's not talking about Libra being not cool because of its centralization. That's one thing. That's an ethical argument. Like, its structure is wrong. This isn't exactly what we want. There are concerns about a corporate coin. There's concerns about decentralization. All of those are ethical arguments that I agree with and I am behind. But, you know, just talking about like, you know, very smugly, to be quite honest with you, talking about, you know, well, they're facing regulatory hurdles and they could be a security and blah, blah, blah. Like, you should go place some bets on Augur. That's really lame, man. That's like super, super lame. You know, like the space deserves better than that, than you just being smug and grinning because you think you have an edge where Libra doesn't. Come on, man. That's super lame. Now, let's talk about the, where is it? Oh, okay, here we go. Let's have a little bit more lightheartedness, and then we'll get into the tragedy of Nano. But before we get into the tragedy of Nano, let's talk about CZ, please go to moon. So, humanity's space. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a big advocate for getting off of this ball of death as a human species. I mean, we are just literally one asteroid away from species-wide catastrophe. Absolutely ridiculous and unbelievable that we cannot get our stuff together as a civilization in order to, it's like, can we just get a couple spaceships off this rock? Like, just send, you know, can we just, like, I understand it's like unfeasible and stuff, but like, we got a lot of people on Earth, man. Like, people are going to die. Can we just start shooting people to Mars now so that at least they're there? And like, yeah, I mean, people will probably die. And I don't mean to be casual about human life. Human life is sacred, but you know, can we just start trying to send people to Mars? Like, you know, forget the blah, blah, blah. Just start shooting them there. Like, it seems like Elon Musk could probably figure this stuff out in about 5 minutes, and we can start the terraforming process. So at least there is a backup for human civilization, right? Can we get some people on the moon? I mean, can we get people in, I'm sure there's people in bunkers already, but you know, you cannot, if we want to grow as a civilization, as a species, you know, we can't be limited to one planet because we are just a ball of rock flying around space around a glowing, exploding ball of gas. Not the safest thing when you think about it that way. I mean, that's literally what it is. You think you're in a house right now? Think you're comfortably watching a television? No, bro. You are flying through space on a rock. There's asteroid belts around and explosions and that thing you call in the thing you like to lay under in the summer and get a nice tan. Yeah, that's a radioactive exploding ball of gas floating around in the middle of space. Changes your perspective, man. We got to get off this rock, man. Got to spread the human seed around. Now, humanity's space age future is thankfully within our reach with our technological advancement, and it can be funded in part thanks to blockchain technology. At least that is what Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao believes. Ye old CZ. Now, radical technological projects straight out of science fiction could become reality, with global investment initiatives being made possible through the fundraising magic that is cryptocurrency and decentralized organizations. Now, in a recent tweet, CZ posted one such example of a feasible bit of high technology, a space elevator. According to CZ, quote, these are the kind of projects that should be fundraised on the blockchain globally, and all expenses tracked on the blockchain transparently. Now, while it isn't clear if CZ sees real potential in a giant elevator that could connect Earth and space, the greater point being made is that high-tech development initiatives could be managed and funded using blockchain technology. Now, while some scientists claim that existing technology could build a giant elevator connecting the surface to low Earth orbit, the problem does come in terms of funding and organizational management. CZ, who is obviously aware of crypto enthusiasts' open-mindedness to next-generation technology and appetite for moon landings and funding projects of dubious quality, apparently feels the space age sales pitch. It's right up our alley. You guys want elevator to the moon? We got that over here in Bitcoin land, man. Don't worry, we got you covered, man. Governments, stand aside. Decentralization has got this. Now, where traditional investment models would balk and seek to deprive us of our hover cars or robot housekeepers, blockchain fundraising and futurist thought leaders such as CZ, and potentially yourself, could help us usher in a new age of technological marvels. Like, seriously. We've got this new decentralized funding model. And granted, maybe it's a little far-fetched to be like, oh, we can get the billions and billions and billions of dollars we need. It might just be like a GoFundMe. But this is cryptocurrency. And most of the people in this space are totally down with throwing a couple Bitcoin toward a space elevator. Let's go. So we'll see. We'll see, you guys. Got to be the change that you want to see in the world. Now, sorry to end on a negative tone, but we do have to go talk about the... Oh, no, that's not good. What the heck? Oops, something went wrong. Gosh darn right it did. Let's talk about the saga of Ryblocks, aka Nano, aka not your daddy's cryptocurrency. A class action lawsuit on behalf of investors in the Nano cryptocurrency has been filed in a U.S. District Court of Northern California. Now, it is alleged that during the periods of the most active shilling in Nano's major marketing offensive on Reddit, Nano developers actively encouraged users and investors to open accounts with an obscure Italian exchange. You might have heard of it. It's called BitGrail, while being told to await the launch of a more convenient wallet, as well as listings on larger exchanges. So the complaint in this case alleges that the sale of Nano represented an unregistered security offering, naturally, and the class action calls for a hard fork to save the assets lost on the BitGrail exchange at the heart of the matter. Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock, obviously the BitGrail exchange was hacked and led to the loss of Nano worth $170 million, or around 17 million tokens at the time of the hack. Now, while the loss of the tokens was not, to Nano's credit, due to a network or protocol failure, it was the small Italian exchange, which turned out to be the single point of failure. Now, BitGrail was closed for investigation, with all of its assets suspended. It would now appear that the Nano was siphoned off of the exchange before users even noticed withdrawals becoming unavailable. So Nano chose the path of high publicity. And I mean, their shilling on social media became pretty overwhelming. I don't know if you guys pay attention to this kind of stuff or remember, but many were obviously taken in by the strong marketing campaign and acquired the coins and did hold them on the exchange, BitGrail, as the only available gateway to the project at that time. Now, the little backstory here, the Nano project was originally known as Ryblocks, which in itself was a fork of another DAG-based project. DAG standing for Directed Acyclical Graph Project. The Nano supply and distribution has been called into question, with some alleging that millions were allocated internally at the Genesis block, and thousands of tokens were given away to the public through a faucet distribution system, compiling only a capture requirement. I know I did it. Now, while many faithful in the community still stand by the project and claim the developers were honest and transparent, others, such as those represented in this recently filed class action lawsuit, claim otherwise. And, thanks to slick marketing, then still known as Ryblocks, the token began trading and the price took off during the now infamous altcoin boom of late 2017, where it literally didn't matter what you bought, you were making money hand over fist. The coin went from a few cents to $36 very quickly, sparking excitement that it was on its way to the top of the altcoin charts. However, by early 2018, the price began to crash, and a rebranding to Nano and a fresh marketing offensive did little to stop the bleeding. Peaking in June of this year at $1.50, if Nano is again on a long-term downwards trend, sinking to 76 cents as of today. The token also went from a phenomenal peak at 0.002 BTC to about 9,000 Satoshis. Popularity of the project has since dwindled, and its shilling on social media has long since subsided. So what do you guys think? Just a classic pump and dump? Good project, but poor management, poor handling? Or total FUD, man. Nano's the next thing. Should buy it up right now. You guys let me know in the comments. I'm going to lean more toward my personal opinion. And with that being said, it is now 1:42. So let's pop back over into the live scene and get back to Bitcoin and see what we've missed. And, to be honest with you guys, not a whole lot. As I said, not overly surprised. Bitcoin likes to do these pumps and then just float in the air until the daily candle close, and then wait until about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then move 10%. So likely to float in the air up here. Again, mean reversion strategy has you selling this back down to about 8,200. Breakout trading has you taking the long. So we'll wait and see. And I don't think it's a bad idea to have both trades on. That might sound cyclical. Again, that is the point of early exits. Your stop loss is not there to be hit to get you out of the trade. Your stop loss is there to protect you from the worst case scenario. You should have an early exit, meaning if you go long and you go short simultaneously, you're going to know by tomorrow which one was the right one and you exit the other trade. That's how you unwind long positions. Hedge your bets. Lightning Network, greater than Nano. We don't need Nano. I agree. Drop. Moon boys will be rolling around in Teslas one day. You're darn right, man. I agree with you, Scott. This does tick me off because it does give the space a bad name. But, this space was founded on bad names. This is Bitcoin. Not a whole lot of activity coming in. Again, I think that let's go back. We are back here on the hourly. We did close. Minx did close on the underneath on default settings over here. So again, and what I really like, what's fascinating about Minx is that it is a predictive indicator. For example, it does have you exiting the position on a bullish candle. And that's the way that it's programmed. And under the best circumstances, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to get you out really, really close to the top. Depending on what settings you have, again, but Minx is very sensitive. If you guys will recall, the EMA 13 is very sensitive. And that is why I recommended that a lot of people not use the EMA 13 until they feel more comfortable being more active with their trading and go to something a little less sensitive, such as the 30-period Donchian, i.e. the Kijinsen from the Ichimoku Cloud, which is an indicator you guys can use for free. TV.crackingcryptocurrency.com will take you right to our TradingView page, and our CC Ichimoku script is public. You guys can add that to your chart and use it as much as you like. There's other indicators there that you could check out as well. Hey, Justin, how was following Heikinashi in your experience? Have you backtested it? Does it work? There's nothing wrong with Heikinashi. You can't backtest, or you can. You cannot flip to Heikinashi candles and run a backtest because the prices do not line up with the OHLC prices in real time. You're getting OHLC4, which is the open, high, low, close divided by 4, and is going to be the overall average of the bar. It's not the median, that would be HL2. It's going to be the overall average of the bar with 2 weighted factors, which is the open and the close. There's nothing wrong. Listen, I think that Renko or Heikinashi are going to be some of the best strategies out there if you don't have good technical indicators for OHLC bars, right? And the reason why is because they tend to eliminate data that you don't want and just give you data that you do want, which is what is the trend, right? And then you can just look for indicators. You can, in real time, trade Heikinashi. There's nothing wrong with that, right? As long as you understand that the price that you're seeing on your chart may not exactly correlate to the price you're going to get filled at. But again, if you're just looking, if you're trading in real time, if you're actively trading, if you're sitting here looking at the charts, there's nothing wrong with using Heikinashi. I think that it actually works pretty well. I think that you can outperform Heikinashi with good technical indicators on an OHLC. By a long shot, I think you can outperform Heikinashi. And it's not as simple as, you buy when the bar turns green and sell when it turns red. It's just not that simple. And so what you need to do, with Renko especially, but with Heikinashi, is actually go and see what you have to take the timestamp and then go see what price that correlates to in real time on the OHLC bar and see if you're making as much money as you thought. Because often if you look at the Heikinashi chart and then you're like, oh, well, this is fantastic, I would have entered here. And maybe you did. Maybe this is a good entry, right? And then you flip back to OHLC and you have to actually look, was that a good entry? In this case, it was, right? So again, there are times when entering and exiting is going to be good. Like, for example, this catches some good trends. But you have to, it's not just as simple as you buy when it turns green and sell when it turns red. You still need, you probably need a baseline. Absolutely. You need trending indicators. You need something to give you direction, right? But Heikinashi is really good, man. What would be the best indicator to combine with Heikinashi? Can't do the shortcut for you, man. There's a lot of good ones out there. You can find, there's most indicators, you can find a way to use them good. I mean, my suggestions would be moving average are going to be very helpful. Wadatar explosion, I think, is going to be good on pretty much anything you put it on. You can go use that for free on our trading view. It's actually part of my system. Fisher transform, I think, is absolutely fantastic. Commodity channel index, MACD, these are all indicators that can be optimized to serve well. Some are going to perform better than others. And I think that starting off with that good profitable base then opens you up to just maximizing your gains over time by optimizing your indicators. Thank you so much, Philip. Highly appreciated. How do you identify the differences between the indicators? Well, what you need to do is you need to go back and look at your indicators and see, when did you tell me to go long? And you need to see if that was a profitable trade. And then you need to write all those results down, and you need to compare them to the results of another indicator. You just need to backtest it. Thank you, Owen. Highly appreciate it, my friend. Let's see, huh? CryptBug, I'll give you an opportunity to make sure that I'm wrong. But you're like, if you wouldn't have entered until the crossover of minks on your chart, you wouldn't have entered a good price. You know, it depends on kind of what you're going for. I think that entering at 82.36 and catching this movement to the upside and exiting on this candle, as Minx is telling you to, I think that's a pretty darn good trade, especially on the hourly here. That is a 5% trade in 3 hours. I'd be pretty happy with that. BTC versus USD charts work better. The BTC versus USD chart is the easiest cryptocurrency chart to trade. Renko or Heikinashi? I'm going to say Renko. But again, treacherous. Heikinashi is easier to figure out the tricks and how to actually convert that into profitability. And Renko, you got to understand, because you have to test Renko. You have to optimize Renko. And if you do, you get good results. You can get good results, right? Indicators work completely different on the Renko and Heikinashi charts than they do on OHLC. So there's this huge field that's open for optimizing strategies. But Renko is even worse at people looking at it and they're like, oh, this is fantastic. You just buy when it turns green, you sell when it turns red. It's not that simple, man. You have to, there's a lot of little nuances and red flags with Renko. But if you can get through those, I think you can make something pretty good. Super trend is good if you want to see trend breaking candles. I put the settings on 150/50. That's a good idea. You know, I'm not a huge fan of super trend. I don't think it's terrible. Just the way I just haven't found it to outperform any of the indicators that I use. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's good. You can take something it all depends. Like I can only give you guys my results from the combinations of indicators that I've tested. There's going to be lots of combinations that I probably haven't tested, even though I've tested thousands of them. Should I wait for a dip to buy or go in now? Tell me your advice. I wouldn't do anything right now. You know, I talked about that for probably an hour coming in. And just, you know, the TLDR is this. So subjectively, we're at a breakout point, and that is one of the most heavily manipulated areas of the market, or the most treacherous area to trade, because you have just a ton of liquidity right now. You are trading into a hot zone of liquidity. You are trading into a hot zone of stop loss hunt / breakout / who knows. But again, more importantly, like what I think you need to do, and I don't mean this personally, but since you're asking that question, the way that I approach trading is not subjectively. I have indicators and they tell me what to do. And I recommend that you do that as well. I recommend that you take a step back, not worry about making money right now, and set yourself up to have a technical strategy that you can optimize over time, and therefore have a lifetime of never having to ask that question ever again. If you build a technical strategy, you will never, ever, 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 ever have to wonder when you look at the chart, should I buy now or wait for a dip? First off, I don't buy dips, but that's not how I trade. I'm a trend trader. With a rare exception of reversal baseline bounces. But yeah, man. Learn how to fish, brother. Learn how to fish. I do go over Renko strategies in the Primo trading chat. Yes. Yep, I do go over Renko. I do go over those difficulties and the differences between optimizing Renko strategies versus OHLC4 in the VIP Ask Me Anything segments, pre-recorded videos for premium subscribers to the group. When I trade alts, do I trade versus BTC or USD? I keep getting confused. Both. I trade both. Depends on the chart. Pizza arrived. Best of two. Justin with pizza. Gui, you're making me hungry, brother. The stream is gold. Why do I not have 1 million subs? Man, you know what? I just don't know, bro. One of these days, though. Cross your fingers. Hit the thumbs up button. Highly appreciate it, guys. Like and subscribe. Or else. No, just kidding. I think that's one of the best, I think that's one of the best, thanks for watching end of video things that I've seen. It's, old boys like and subscribe. Or else. And I just, for some reason, I find that absolutely hilarious. I use a similar approach to carbon offsetting. When my wife buys clothes, I match it by buying the same value in BTC. Great indicator so far. You know, the best thing about that, Brian, first off, that's hilarious. The better thing about that is if your wife is like maybe she's like ambivalent about your BTC investments, and every time she buys clothes, you're just like, oh yeah, you see her come in with that bag and you're like, oh yeah, is that those new shoes, honey? Mm-hmm. Be adding that Bitcoin bag tonight. She's just like, I'm not trying to disparage women. I think women are great. Which student will I bring on? I haven't decided yet. I'm trying to think about the best way to do that. And I don't know if that's, directly what I want to do. There's a lot of guys in the group that I would absolutely love to have on. We've kind of talked about this before about, doing a show where it's more like kind of free form and non-structured, where it's just me and, some of the analysts of the group, maybe some of the moderators, and maybe a few guests on. And we're just kind of having a chat. The reason we didn't go that route with the show initially was because there's a lot of other channels that kind of do stuff like that. And I don't think a lot of them are very high quality. And there's technical difficulties with that. But I think we're at a point where we have a good base of users, and I find the conversations that I get to have, these free floating conversations with my analysts and our moderators and my friends and other people in the space, where some of the best information comes out of that. I was saying this the other day. I was talking with one of our students the other night, and we were talking about fiction versus nonfiction books. And I said, I'm a voracious reader. I try to read 3 to 4 books a month. And one of the things that I always say is that you don't want to get into this mindset where you're like, because I went through this, and a lot of people do, like a lot of people that are taking the red pill and changing their lives and incorporating discipline into their lives and becoming motivated and finding something that they're passionate about, which trading is one of those things. And it's obviously the medium through which I've changed my life. You kind of go a little hardcore, and you're like, well, no video games, no nonfiction books, no entertaining shows on YouTube. It's education and discipline and work all the time. And that's good. That's good. Like, to have that mindset of being serious and passionate. But you cannot starve your creative side. And some of my best thoughts, some of my best passions come from creativity. And I love fiction books. A huge fiction reader. Love them. Now, again, I don't just read fiction books. A majority of what I read is nonfiction. I love to educate myself. But, I'll read a couple nonfiction books and I'll read a fiction book. I'll read a couple nonfiction books and I'll read a fiction book, because that destiny and fantasy and fate and creativity, and you need those juices flowing as well. Like, it can't just be right brain all the time. It can't be. I think that those people struggle under their own issues. You got to have passion and wonder and drive and desire and logic, and you know, it's all one, man. Then you can blame her clothes habit for why you lose so much money in the dip on BTC. There you go. Hey, you just need to get her synced up with going to buy, going to buy clothes when Bitcoin drops in price, not when it skyrockets. Where she brings home clothes and you're like, honey, Bitcoin just pumped $1,000. Okay. I'm going to get far less BTC than if you'd just bought these shoes yesterday. Can you please take these back? Wait, man, we're going to the moon. She's kidding. She's pretty ambivalent. I'm selling when my kids come home from school and talk about Bitcoin again. Work like a charm at 20K. Hell yeah, man. Well, listen, guys, I absolutely love you. And we've got some fantastic chat going on right now. And I hate to pull off from that, but I'm sorry. I do have a ton of stuff that I have to do right now in my personal work life. So with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much. Let's slide over here and politely let you guys go. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me for another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. I've been your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at crackingcryptocurrency.com. If you are new to the show, or regardless of whatever your experience in trading is, if you guys would like to join a supportive community to help you grow with your technical strategy, then please check out premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com, link in the description down below to begin your journey as a trader with us. Love to help you guys out. In addition, if you guys want to attend San Francisco Blockchain Week, October 28th to November the 2nd, there is a link in the description that will save you 15% off your ticket price. You're welcome. And let us please know in the Discord if you're going to be attending. I would love to do a Cracking Cryptocurrency meetup in person to even maybe do the show live. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. You want to bring guests and students on the show? Let's do it live. So that would be really awesome, guys. Really looking forward to it. Going to have a great time down there. The whole team's going to be down there, so you guys could come out and meet all of us. It's going to be a blast. I mean, so much fun. So if you guys want some cheap tickets, use that link in the description down below. Also links to anything that's relevant in life down there as well in the description. Make sure, regardless of what you do, that you join the Discord, because that is where we keep the conversation going when the show's not rolling. Discord.crackingcryptocurrency.com, free and available to anybody who wants to join, guys. You can also follow my random ramblings over on Twitter at cracking_crypto. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, and/or death threats, make sure to leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll try to respond to you within the next 48 hours, especially if it's germane to the situation. Question of the day. Do you guys think that this WeChat and Alipay thing is good for the price of Bitcoin? Do you think it's going to pump it? Does it not really matter? Is China going to slam this down faster than a protester in Hong Kong? You guys let me know. Was that too soon? Bad joke? I don't know. Anyways, guys, regardless of what you do, make sure to trade safely. And anyway, either way that happens, I will see you guys back here at noon Central Daylight Time tomorrow to crack some more cryptocurrency, guys. Have a good one.